Okay, so once again, good day everyone. So this time we're going to discuss about the stages of academic research, no? So of course, there are some steps, no, to outline a simple and effective strategy for writing a research paper, no? Depending on your familiarity with the topic and the challenges you encountered along the way, you may need to rearrange these steps, no? So this time, I think that everybody are now ready to hear on what are the possibility or what are the available steps for us to start with our topic, chosen topic. So, of course, the most important things that we need to consider is first is identify and develop your topic, no? Do a preliminary research, a preliminary search for information, locate the materials, evaluate your sources. You need to make notes, write your paper, cite your sources properly always, no? And proofread will be the last. Okay, so to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter.
Ayan, so thank you, Doc. Good morning, Doc. Good morning, classmate. My topic for today is the stages of academic research. So as I searched the internet, I noticed that there are a lot of different stages, kumbaga depende sa guidelines ng school. And I noticed too that the usual na common stages is the following. So first is define research problem. Second is review the literature. Third is formulate hypothesis. Fourth is design a research, and fifth is collect data. Sixth is analyze the data, and then seventh is interpret and write a report. So today I will try my best to explain as simple as possible yung mga stages of writing a research, since I know that writing a research paper is very tedious work. So punta na tayo sa step 1. So step 1, we have to formulate a research problem. So kumbaga, ito yung sinasabing define the problem. This is where we have to think kung ano ba yung gusto nating i-research. Ano bang topic tayo mag-ano ng research, and what is the question in our mind na nangangailangan tayo ng sagot. So this should be a particular in our interest, and dapat passionate tayo sa topic na yon to make the research paper fruitful and rewarding at the end. So sabi dito, we have to understand the problem thoroughly, since the research problem is a step of greatest importance in the entire research process. So isa to talaga sa pinaka-importante, yung pag-alam natin ng kung ano ba yung research topic or problem na gagawin natin. So kung wala to, then we can't do the other steps. Okay, so let's move on to step 2. So step 2 is we have to review literature. So ayun nga, meron na tayong gustong i-research na problem. Then next thing we have to do is we have to read. Nabasa ko na when you're doing a research, it is suggested na mag-read ng 5 to 6 books about that topic na gusto nating i-research from scholars and credited authors of books. So you can use here manuals, journals, published data. Okay, so there are 2 types of literature. So first is the conceptual literature. So conceptual literature, this is concerning the concept and theories. Kumbaga, ito yung mga nasa textbook o yung mga ginagamit sa school na may mga concepts and theories. While the empirical literature, it is consists of studies made earlier which are similar to the one proposed. So pwede rin tayo daw tumingin ng mga literature na mga previous studies na katulad din ng ating topic. So pwede rin natin yung gawing reference. Okay, so bakit ba mahalaga itong literature review? So literature review is an integral part of entire research process, and it makes our research has a valuable contribution, since meron nga tayong backup na mga literature coming from credited authors and scholars, yung research paper na gagawin natin nagkakaroon din ng value, since all the information are fact, di ba? Meron tayong basis. So it makes our research to a valuable contribution. So next is, this is time consuming, but it also rewarding because it brings clarity, focus to our research problem. It also improves our methodology since dahil nga sa pagbabasa natin ng mga literatures na magagamit natin, nagkakaroon din tayo ng idea kung paano ba natin gagawin yung process ng research paper. Kasi nga, dahil nga merong like empirical literature kung saan nakikita natin yung mga previous studies. And then last is, it can broaden our knowledge. Okay, so ayun yung sa part na step 2, yung literature review. So next is that we have to formulate the hypothesis. So ayan, naririnig na natin to since our undergraduate school, yung hypothesis. So ano ba ulit yung hypothesis? So it is a possible tentative answer to the problem. Ayun, so meron na tayong since nagbasa na tayo ng mga maraming books and literature, nagkakaroon na tayo sa ating isip na ano pa yung possible na sagot sa problem natin. Kung nagkakaroon na tayo ng idea kung ano ba yung magiging result ng ating topic. So it can be proven right or wrong at the end of the research. Okay, so paano pa ba natin makaka-develop ng hypothesis? So these are the ways we can develop or formulate a hypothesis. First, we can discuss this with our colleagues na magtanong tayo about sa insight nila sa ating topic. We can also examine and review similar studies, yung mga data, records, or we can also para manonood tayo ng mga interviews sa YouTube or anything na pwede nating makita yung mga previous data concerning dong sa topic natin. Then we can also investigate. So dito sa investigate, we can do a interview sa mga expert or yung mga meron talagang alam sa field na ginagawa natin. Like for example, kunwari ang gusto kong topic is about human resource. So, pwede akong mag-conduct ng mag-conduct ng interview sa isang human resource, HR. So, ayun yung pwedeng mga ways kung paano tayo makaka-formulate ng hypothesis or possible tentative answer. Okay, so moving on sa step 4, we can now prepare the research design. So ang research design, this is where you answer the question of what is the method that you will be conducting sa research. Kung ano ba yung mga gagawin mo. So it involves a series of choices of different types of design, or you can also decide on what is your approach, gagawing approach sa research paper. So here are the following approach na we can choose. So first is the qualitative approach. This deals with words and meanings, while the quantitative, this one deals with numbers and statistics. And the last is the mixed method approach, which integrate aspect of the two. So dito daw sa approach, we can, dito sa preparing the research design, dito na yung time na mag-choose tayo kung ano yung approach sa mga nabanggit, and then we can also choose the type of design. So for example, for quantitative research, we can choose experimental design to test the cause and effect relationship. So makikita natin yung difference with using mathematics or statistic. While for the qualitative research, we can choose a case study na similar sa ating topic. Ayun. So, okay, next na tayong step. So this now involve the data collection or collecting yung mga data na ginawa natin. So it can either be through experiments or through surveys. So sa experiments, medyo expensive po ito kasi ayun nga, mag-undergo tayo ng series of experiments. So sa mga nabanggit ko yan, hindi lang yan. Pwede rin pa tayong other ways makakollect ng data. And this is by observation, through personal interview, through telephone interviews, and by mailing questionnaire. So dito sa by mailing questionnaire, ito yung parang mas commonly ngayon, yung mga nagpapaano ng Google form. Ayan, so pwede yun ang maging source ng ating data collection. Okay, so next, move to step 6. This is where we are now going to analyze the data na na-collect natin. So dito po, sa analyzing data, we can either choose a statistical sa ating variables na na-collect or itong mga atong steps na to like coding. So dito sa coding, it is usually done at this stage through which we categorize or the data and transform it into symbols that will soon be tabulated. So ito makikita nyo, this is already tabulated. So editing, it is a procedure kung saan ini-improve lang natin yung kinode natin. And then last is the tabulation kung saan gagawa na tayo ng table ng ating mga kinode. So this is an example of tabulation na nagagawa sa computer. Ayan, so the last step that I'll be discussing is ito na, yung last natin gagawin, yung interpret and report. So dito ba sa interpret and report, so ayan, dito na yung kung saan we have to do the report mismo. So the layout of the report should be as the following. So we should have the preliminary page, the main text, and the end matter. So sa preliminary stage, we can consider dito yung framework, yung scope and limitation. Then makikita na rin dito kung ano ba yung research design na ating pinili. Well, for the main text, this can consider the data collection, the analysis of the data. Well, for the end matter, ayan, dito naman yung mga references na ating ginamit and conclusions and findings. Ayan, so pangalawa naman is report should be written in a concise and objective style in simple language, avoiding vague expression like it seems, there may be, and be like. So we have to be parang iiwas tayo sa mga parang nagsa-sound tayo na hindi sigurado sa ating conclusion or finding. So iiwasan natin itong mga it seems. And iiwas din daw dapat tayo sa mga jargons. Or we can use jargons, tas lalagyan na lang natin ng meaning do sa ating research paper. So third is yung paggamit daw ng charts and illustration should be only used kapag yung charts and illustration na yun is makakapagbigay pa ng mas more clear sa ating information. So if not naman, pwede na raw na hindi na lang maglagay ng charts or illustration. Then fourth is we have to calculate confidence limits and the constraints we experience in conducting research. So sa confidence limits, ayan, meron po yung formula, nakita ko sa internet and hindi ko siya maano dahil wala rin akong data ngayon. So ayan, sabi dito we have to calculate confidence limits. So feel free to see the internet na lang kung paano siya kina-calculate. So that's it. That's all. So the main book that I reference is this from C.R. Kothari. So yun lang po. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam. No? So, again, as our presenter mentioned, no, marami naman kasing available data on the research process or the steps in the academic research process. So, of course, number one, ang didiscuss kasi ng presenter natin sobrang sipag, the entire research process. What we're looking at actually, of course, is just number one is to define the topic, no? Nasabi naman ng presenter natin yan, no? The academic research process is not a linear process in which you must complete step 1 before moving on to the step 2 or 3, no? You don't need to put off your writing your composition until you've gathered all of your sources. So in fact, you may want to start writing as soon as possible and adjust your research or thesis statement and writing as you continue to work through the research process. No? For that reason, we can consider the research process as guideline to follow as your work through your composition, and you could revisit the steps as many times as needed to create a finished product. No. So number one, again, decide on the topic. No? Carefully consider the topic that has been assigned. Number two, narrow the topic. So in order to narrow search parameters. When you go to a professional sports event, concerts, or event at a large venue, your ticket has 3 items on it: the section, the row, and the set number. So you go in that specific order to pinpoint where you are supposed to sit. Similarly, when you decide on a topic, you often start large and must narrow the focus. You move from a general subject to a more limited topic, to a specific focus or issues. No, the reader does not want a cursory look at the topic. He or she wants to walk away with some newfound knowledge and deeper understanding of the issue. For that, details are essential. For example, no? Suppose you want to explore the topic of autism. You might move from general topic, specific needs in the classroom. The limited topic is autistic students in a classroom setting. The specific focus is how technology can enhance learning for autistic students. No? Number 3 is do background research. Sabi naman ni Miss Presenter, tama naman. Ako actually personally, no, for us to know if my topic is a researchable, no, what I'm going to do is to read more about literature do sa interest, kung saan interest ako. No? I do more research. I visited actually journals. I visited Google Scholar. I visited Science Direct, and so on and so forth. No? Again, do background research or preliminary research. Begin by figuring out what you know about the topic, and then fill in any gaps you may have on the basics by looking at more general sources. During your final defense, no, dahil may final defense tayo dito, always remember that the panel's always asking what will be the research gap for you to propose this kind of proposal or this study. Dapat mayroong gaps. No? How you'll be able to find out the gaps? By reading a lot of related literature and related studies. Okay, and this is a place where general internet searches such as on Google will be most useful. Once you know the basics on the topic, start investigating that basic information for potential sources of conflict. Thus, there seems to be disagreement about particular aspect of the topic. For instance, if you're looking at a civil war battle, are there any parts of the battle that historians seem to argue about? Perhaps some point to one figure's failing as a reason for a loss, and some point instead to another figure's spectacular success as a reason in his side won. No? Number 4, create a research question. No? Once you have narrowed your topic so that it is manageable, it is time to generate research question about your topic. Create thought-provoking, open-ended questions, ones that encourage debate. Decide which question addresses the issues that concerns you. That will be your main research question. Secondary questions will address the who, what, when, where, why, and how on the issue. Let's say, for example, your main questions, how do stereotypes of women in the media influences the people's sense that women can be leaders? Parang ano to baka manalo di ba? Pink and green, parehas babae, no? So, the secondary question goes like this. How can more women get involved in politics? Pwedeng study to, no? Pwedeng gawin. Why aren't more women involved in politics? What role do media play in discouraging women from being involved? How many women are involved in politics at a state or national level? How long do they typically stay in politics and for what reasons do they leave? Yun yung mga ano, no? A good topic actually, no? If in case, no, if in case na manalo, let's say, if in case lang naman manalo si Leni Robredo and Sara Duterte, let's say for example, this will be the first time na ang president saka vice president is woman. And this will be a good, ano, di ba? Another thing that we need to that we can consider to study is how, di ba, as you can see, parang for how many years napansin nyo mga mayors ang kumakandidato? Magandang study rin yon na pwede natin i-consider. No? Di ba, kumandidato si Mayor Duterte, kumandidato si Mayor Binay, kumandidato si Mayor Isko ngayon. That is also another, ano ba yung pwede nating, it is also a good study na pwede natin makonsider. Right after that, number 5, develop a work thesis statement. Answer the main research question to create a working thesis statement. The thesis statement is a single sentence that identifies. Sorry. Okay. So the thesis statement is a single sentence that identifies the topic, no, and shows the direction of the paper while simultaneously allowing the reader to glean the writer's stance on that topic. So a working thesis statement is a preliminary statement that helps you articulate your current thinking on the topic and that puts you on a track for continuing your research and writing your compositions. A working thesis performs 4 main functions. Number 1, it narrows the subject to the single point that readers should understand. Number 2, it names the topic and makes a significant assertion about that topic. Number 3, it conveys the purpose. And number 4, it provides a preview of how the essay will be arranged usually. No? Again, it is important to revisit your working thesis statement after you have found and reviewed your continuing research on your topic. Since you need to be able to prove your thesis to your audience, the final thesis statement you come up with should be a reflection of the evidence you have available from your research. Furthermore, when doing academic research, you should be willing to let your mind be changed on the topic based on the preponderance of evidence you found in your research. If after reviewing your research, your mind has changed about the topic or about how to answer your research question, then you working the thesis statement should change to reflect this. Number 6, find and evaluate sources. Looking for those that will best help you answer your research question and refine your working thesis statement. Make sure you are using credible and relevant sources. Read them and reflect on how the information may change how you understand your research question and your thesis statement. Number 7, create a bibliography or references as your gather sources. At early stage, please, at early stage, don't forget, always get the references. Huwag niyong kalimutan yon. Kasi, possibly, ang ano ng panel, puro yung iyong references. So, at early stage, kumukuha ka pa lang ng data, nagsisearch ka pa lang sa topic mo, nagre-review ka pa lang ng mga literature, see to it na kinukuha mo na agad yung references. Di ba? Ang kadalasan, APA format lang naman yung references, no, APA. Agad-agad, kailangan makuha nyo agad yung references. Especially kung i-quote mo yung statement na galing sa ganitong related literature. Now, you can write this citation using a style handbook or by using reference management program like, I don't know if you're familiar with Sotero, Mendeley, or EndNote. Sometimes, research library database supply bibliographic citation for you. You then simply need to copy and paste that citation in your bibliography or references. And number 8, write and edit your composition. So with the help of the evidence you found, refine your thesis statement. Then use your thesis statement as a guide to outline, organize, and write your draft. As you go, carefully incorporate quotations and paraphrases from your sources to provide evidence for your arguments. Also, make sure you cite in text all quotations and paraphrases you incorporate. Again, always make sure you cite in text all quotation and paraphrases you incorporate. And I think that's it for this topic.